some kind of happiness. One day, the orphan girl was walking through the Everwood alone when she came upon a lady knight polishing her armor. The orphan girl was careful around any strangers, for in strangers lay the possibility of pain. But the knight greeted her warmly and proposed that they travel together. And so they did, exploring an area of the Everwood that was new to them both. The trees stretched into a high world of green. Neither the orphan girl nor the knight could see the sky above. The farther they walked, the quieter the woods became. The world took on an eerie feeling, as if the air had been disturbed by something malicious and slow-moving. "Something terrible has happened here," whispered the orphan girl. "How can you be so sure?" asked her friend. "Can't you feel it? The air is heavy with secrets." Then the orphan girl saw a shape in the shadows beneath a thin white tree. The shape gave off a quivering power, weak but once strong. "Be careful," said the knight. "I don't know this part of the forest. Perhaps we should turn around." But the orphan girl was too curious. She reached into the briars and pulled out a fine bridle laced with gold. It hummed with power, rattling her teeth and leaving her breathless. "Put it away," urged the knight. "There is something evil about this place." "I cannot," said the orphan girl. "I must find to whom it belongs." She tucked the bridle into her pack. Not long after, they found another object, half buried in the dirt. "A boot?" mused the orphan girl. "A fine one," added the knight. "The leather is like velvet." "'Tis a shame to misplace something so valuable," the orphan girl observed. "Misplaced, perhaps, or stolen, or worse." The orphan girl shivered at her friend's dark words. The boot's power was even stronger than the bridle's, making her bones ache as if with fever. "Do you think it has been enspelled by a witch?" whispered the knight. "Enchanted by a fairy?" "It has certainly known pain," said the orphan girl soberly, "for when I touch it I feel it too." She tucked the boot into a pouch on her back. Deeper in the Everwood, where the light was dim as evening, a wave of power washed over the orphan girl and her knight. They staggered, gasping. The orphan girl caught a glint of metal. "A dagger!" she said, lifting the weapon from the tangled forest floor. "It is a fine blade," said the knight. "But what has happened to it? I feel ill to look at it." "Something cruel," concluded the orphan girl. "Something that left much pain behind." "Wait a moment. Look!" The orphan girl raised her head and saw a strange light shifting through the Everwood leaves. Following it, she emerged into a gray field. Few trees stood here and no birds sang. In the middle of the field stood a small castle of crumbling stone. Wind whistled through the dry grass, and a torn flag hung from a crooked tower. "It is a wasteland," whispered the orphan girl, for she could think of no other way to describe it. Determined to explore, the orphan girl wrapped the dagger in cloth and tucked it into her pack with the boot and the bridle. No sooner had she done this than 3 figures tumbled out of the castle door. Their laughter was high and sharp, their voices vicious. They had filthy rags tied around their heads, and their coats were black with mud. The lady knight unsheathed her sword. "Who are they?" asked the orphan girl. "Rotters!" shouted the lady knight. "Come, my brave friend, we cannot let them catch us." "You would run from a fight?" asked the orphan girl. For answer, the knight raced back into the woods, away from the castle and its gray field, and the orphan girl had no choice but to follow. Chapter 6. I sprint after Gretchen, dodging trees and jumping logs. I do not want to leave the house we found without seeing what was inside it, but these boys are definitely chasing us, and they are fast. Wait, the who? I shout. Come on, Finley! But who are the Baileys? Even in galoshes, Gretchen is lightning fast. They're these kids from next door, she yells back. Well, across the river, I mean. As we run, my mind races. The Baileys. In the Everwood, they would not be neighbors across the river, they would be pirates. The Rotters, to be specific, an infamous trio of rogue pirates hailing from the bitter sea, who befoul and besmirch everything they touch, and who have come to the Everwood to plunder of its riches. Thinking about the Everwood turns my chest light and my legs powerful. I dodge trees and jump over logs, passing Gretchen. A creeper vine whips past my face, and I almost drop the tiny shoe I found. Behind the Bailey boys holler at us, Trespassers! You better run fast! No hearts allowed! I look back and see one of the boys grinning at me. He darts through the trees and disappears, but I still hear him laughing. Back at the river, Gretchen and I scoot across the pipe bridge as fast as we can. Once we get to the other side, there's no sign of the Bailey boys. Where'd they go? I ask, panting. Gretchen points across the river, and I see it now. A house hidden in a mess of trees. It is as grand as Hart House, with a massive porch and too many windows to count. But this house is brown with dirt. The roof sags and the paint is peeling. Are you friends with them? Gretchen clutches her side. Are you kidding? No way! I stick my hand into my pocket. I wonder what Mom would think if she knew I was running away from boys, through a forest with a wrapped knife in my jeans. The Bailey boys climb up the hill to their house. It's so steep on that side they have to pull themselves up tree roots, like climbing the rungs of a ladder. One of them, the one who smiled at me, turns around at the top of the hill. He makes a gesture that would no doubt make my issue with the dinner forks seem like nothing to Grandma. Gretchen flings sticks across the river. They plop into the water. Stay out of our woods! I don't think there are woods, I point out once I have gotten my breath back. Right? I don't think where we were is Grandma and Grandpa's land. Whatever. Gosh. Gretchen's face is red and splotchy, but on her it's somehow appealing. How did she do that? What it means to be a heart. You look pretty, even after sprinting across a forest. I'm not sure how to talk to Gretchen right now. Are you mad? Yes, I'm mad. The Bailey boys are such trash. I can't believe they chased us. They know they're not supposed to come near any of us. Grandma says so. She told them so. Well, we were the ones messing around by their whatever that was, that house. Nah, that's not the Baileys. It's just some house that's been abandoned forever. We're definitely not allowed to go there. I tried to stop you, but you wouldn't listen. Gretchen grins a little. I didn't think you'd be such a rebel. I have to write a story about this house and the pirates and everything. The words racing through my head aren't big enough to describe what has happened. Before today, I didn't know there was an abandoned old castle in a gray field deep in the Everwood, but now it seems obvious it has always been there, hidden and waiting. For me. I have to sit down with my notebook and think. I have to write it just the right way, pick my words carefully. The Everwood deserves to be written about like it is important. My fingers itch for a pencil. But why aren't you allowed to go there? To that house? I don't know. Because it's condemned or whatever. Ugh. Gretchen kicks dirt toward the Bailey house. Just look at that place. It's a disaster. Grandma calls them a blight on the town. Sometimes when I sleep over, I can hear them up in the middle of the night, yelling and blasting music. Like what? They can't sleep like normal civilized people? I wonder if Grandma has told Gretchen bad things about me and Mom and Dad, like she has about the Baileys. She has had a lot of time to do so. The Bailey boys disappear inside their house. A screen door slams. Have you ever talked to them? Gretchen stares at me. No! Why would I? I'm not sure how to answer her, but I don't want her to think I don't belong here, that I don't understand how things work at the Hart House. You don't get it, Finley. They aren't normal boys. It's like I don't know. They're pirates, I say. Ferocious scoundrels come to pillage the Everwood. They're known as rotters, wicked and completely without honor. Ha! If those are the pirates I have to fight, I can totally handle it. Gretchen finds yet another stick to throw. You hear me? I can take you! So she runs after the stick, kicking up chunks of mud. As I watch her, I consider asking Gretchen what Grandma has said about me. Does Grandma think I'm a blight on the family? Does she think I'm a disaster? These questions make me feel like I'm shrinking inside myself, but I will not disappear. Not now that I've found the Everwood. Gretchen is marching around, whacking branches with a stick, still grumbling about the Bailey boys. To distract myself, I take out our finds to examine them. A shoe, child size 11, for the left foot, black with mud and mildew. The fabric is a faded pink. A pocket knife that flips open when you press the side, rusty blade. The hilt is marked with initials, but they're so faded I cannot read them. Then there's the bicycle, buried back in the woods where Gretchen and I were exploring, blackened and twisted, its spokes warped. Something about these three objects, quite frankly, creeps me out. They do not seem to fit with the gleaming white world of Hart House. They belong to the dry field where we found them, to the crumbling old house. Especially this child's shoe. When I hold it, the Everwood seems to shift around me, as if to say, "Here, this, this is important." I wonder if these objects are connected somehow, and if what I've always guessed about the Everwood is true. Such a large forest must be full of secrets. Now that I am here, I will find them. The trees in the Everwood were turning gray. Their leaves began to fall, dry and shrunken, although autumn was still months away. These trees smelled sour and sharp, burned though there were no flames. The orphan girl noticed the change one day, not long after her first encounter with the Rotters. She sensed a great pain lying hidden in the heart of the Everwood, a secret connected to the boot, the bridle, the blade. Whatever this secret was, it had begun seeping into the Everwood trees like disease. The Lady Night plucked a withered leaf from a low-hanging branch. It crumbled into ash at her touch. "What does this mean?" the Knight whispered. "What has happened here?" The orphan girl did not answer. She was staring at the bridle. The ash from the crumbled leaf had fallen onto the bridle, and now the cords of leather were beginning to twist and grow. The Knight withdrew her sword. "Do not interfere," warned the orphan girl. "There is dark magic. If we stop it, we might make it worse." Soon the bridle was no longer leather and gold, but scales and skin. An enormous brown snake with bright turquoise eyes. "What do you want?" demanded the orphan girl. The snake hissed, "I know a secret." "Tell us," yelled the Knight, "or I'll cut off your head." The snake let out a wheezing laugh. Smoke curled up from its mouth. "I'd like to see you try." The orphan girl knelt to look at the snake in its gleaming eyes. "What is the secret of the Everwood?" "Oh, it isn't my place to tell you that," said the snake coyly. "Then why do you taunt us?" cried the Knight. "I said I know a secret. I didn't say I could share it." "Please tell us what you know," said the orphan girl. "We must save the Everwood." "You can't," said the snake with a cold smile. "Not with what you carry." The orphan girl stepped back. "What do you mean?" "You know very well what I mean." The snake raised itself up until it was now as tall as a man. "Here, I'll show you." Then, too quickly for the Knight to even raise her sword, the snake lunged at the orphan girl. Holding her upright in its coils, it opened its jaws wide over her mouth. The orphan girl felt something deep inside her unraveling, sliding up her throat and out her mouth. She gagged. The snake set her down on the dirt and spat a coil of darkness into her palm. "There," the snake said. "I cannot remove all of it. It is lodged too deeply. I am not powerful enough, and besides, it is not my darkness to fight. The night crept closer. What is it? The orphan girl stared at the slick, wriggling lump in her palm. When the orphan girl flung the thing away, it rolled through the mud, spitting smoke, until it too crumbled into ash and drifted away on the wind. Raising her sword high, the knight shouted a battle cry and ran after it. Once they were alone, the snake turned to the orphan girl. It was no longer smiling. Whatever we carry within our hearts, the Everwood's power makes it real. And soon what you carry will destroy not only you, but everything you touch. The Everwood is not as strong as it once was. Your darkness will bring out its own. To save the forest, you must face this thing inside you. The orphan girl held back tears of shame. Her greatest secret, the one she had worked so hard to conceal, lodged in her heart. But how? First, you must give it a name, said the snake. Naming a thing takes away some of its power and gives it to you instead. The orphan girl backed away and shook her head. But I cannot. The snake narrowed its eyes. And why not? Because I am afraid. If you want to save the Everwood and save yourself, you will have to find a way. The snake slithered off into the darkness. I cannot just stop being afraid, the orphan girl shouted after it. Then she said quietly, I have been afraid for so long. Only fools try to run away from fear, called the snake. What you must do is learn to walk alongside it. Then the snake was gone. In the silence, the orphan girl heard 3 distant keening howls. The darkness she carried inside her moved, restless, as though her secret were a beast, and those howls were waking it up. The night returned. My friend, I fear we cannot do this on our own. The evil here is too monstrous for only 2 warriors to conquer. You were right, said the orphan girl, watching the path the snake had taken until her eyes burned. We must find more brave souls for our quest. We need to bring others to the Everwood.